Associative memory. Okay, we're back to associative memory. I've been threatening to redo this video a couple of times, and so now I'm going to redo it, seeing how we have a chance. We're actually shooting video for something else, but how important is it to understand associative memory? It's interesting to understand associative memory because of how we make our associations really determines our identity, how we define ourselves in society. Associative memory is basically the difference between rich people and poor people, and how you think about basically your entire reality. There's nothing in your reality that isn't based on how you perceive it to be. You can take two people in an instance where they both witnessed a crime, and they may give completely different descriptions of the person that they believe, that was the robber or whatever, of a convenience store or something like that. You'll see two different people with two completely different perspectives, and that's based on their perception of reality, which is based on their associative memory, how they associate things. Someone who might be more of an aggressive personality might see that person as being smaller than they were, and someone who sees is more of a diminutive personality would certainly see that person as maybe being bigger than they were. Associations are really how we perceive reality. When you think about the process of visual perception itself, when we process information, first of all, you have to understand that the eye does not see. It's just a light gathering mechanism. The eye doesn't see. The brain puts the picture together, and the first two layers of processing of that information, which is coming off the optic nerve, going to the visual cortex, and then the processing through. In the third step of processing, you have to process through the amygdala, a part of the brain back here, kind of midsection in the back, and the amygdala is based on associative memory. So we perceive, let's say, a painting. One person will say, wow, that's beautiful, and the other person will say, oh, that's horrible, I don't like that at all. And the reason is not that the processes of the brain are any different, it's that the associations to color, associations to texture, associations to brush strokes, how they feel about it is their perception of it. And that's all based on associative memory. The thing that I find out from doing age regression therapy, and this is from many cases going back, most people's perception of reality is so based in associative memory that it's difficult to break these associations. You certainly can't do it at the conscious level, which is why hypnosis is so powerful in creating basically an instantaneous change. Somebody comes in and their associative memory is telling them that smoking is a good thing. Then I will flip it. We'll go back to the last cigarette or something, or their first cigarette, and I'll show them how hard it was for a body. If a human being can't really breathe in cigarette smoke without learning to do it. The first cigarette they had made them choke. So I show them that, and then I let them know that that person actually had this wonderful life ahead of them without smoking, and then look at the emotions for the reason why they started smoking, peer pressure or a desire to fit in, things of this nature, and then flip it. I just flip it on them. I'll just bring adult reasoning into a child's mentality of why they started to smoke. They start at the age of 12 or 14 or 16, and it's really a kind of a self-destructive behavior mechanism that is telling them basically that they have an emotional problem and they need to try and fix it, but they've used cigarettes as a distraction from actually addressing the emotional problem. And that's based in your associations, your associative memory. So originally they came into the office and they associated this as my fix, my distraction to addressing the emotional problem. And the real fix is actually dealing with the emotion. And age regression, I can go back well beyond that moment in time to find out why they entered into self-destructive behavior in the first place. It's usually a feeling of lack of love from their parents or things of that nature. So in an understanding of topics now, as I cruise through videos on YouTube, especially the heated topics, the religion versus, I no longer believe in either. You know, religion versus evolution, the evolutionists versus theology itself. When you look at religion, it is all associative memory, but you know, when we look at evolution, you can see, I mean, there's a whole genre of archaeology that basically has never been looked at because it doesn't fit the model. Same thing in physics. There's certain experiments that have been done there. The answers are difficult to understand, and because it doesn't fit the standard model, physicists kind of brush it aside and don't really look at it. Well, in these cases, nobody's really right. What's happening is their associative memory is pointing them in a direction long before they've ever actually looked at the facts. And when they see something, they will automatically reject it. Now, this is an attribute of the conscious mind. This is the critical factor. It's entering in, it's doing its job. It's protecting the ego. Certainly, a person who spent 12 years in college and a small fortune going to Harvard or Oxford or one of these other major universities, they definitely will reject certain pieces of information that don't fit into the standard model, because the standard model is who they identify themselves as. The whole free energy movement with John Bedini's experiments that appear to work, very much appear to work. The reason that these concepts are rejected is not because they're proven. Bedini's been doing this for 20 years now. He's obviously proven that what he's doing is working. But the reason that we don't change the model in physics is because of belief structures that come from associative memory. And you can see how this relates to, say, somebody who's a Christian who has positive associative memory based on the religious principles of going to church and feeling good and all these other things that constantly reinforce those positive things. And they see the miracles, but they don't see the miracles in Buddhism, and they don't see the miracles in Hinduism, and they don't see the miracles in Islam or in the Muslim faith, because their associative memory blocks that out. Their consciousness, that little tiny part of us that's actually our consciousness, is influenced by our associative memory. And therefore we do not see all of the truth. We see the part of the truth that reinforces our identity. And that's what associative memory, that's why associative memory is so important. Think about it.